I am no longer the saint of backyard wrestling. Because what I've realized is no matter how much I bust my ass, no matter what I do, I will never get the respect that I deserve. This feels a little weird. In fact, the last time I sat down right here with the camera was myself filming my retirement doc, and I got a lot of questions time to time about my retirement, and 100% at the time, the whole BYWN Clash of the Yards 1 hour Ironman match versus Chris Dynamite, that was truly that was truly the end. There was no plans to come back the following year. There were no plans to go up to SGW in Georgia. There was no talks with Sam Reeves. That whole retirement at Clash of the Yards truly was the end of FBW and the end of Anthony Aries. FBW and myself are really resilient. We're stubborn. Every time that it seems to be the time to move on, the time to just ride off into the sunset. It seems that some force drags myself and FBW back into the limelight. Something that I haven't been too clear about is what happened with the SGW run.
SGW, the saint of backyard wrestling, came to SGW.
People may wonder what happened to my original dream. My original dream growing up, and that is becoming a professional wrestler. Back in 2019, I went around preaching very heavy that it was time to go pro. That I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I had a company, a school picked out. But now, fast forward many years later, and I'm still here in the backyard wrestling community. I am still here making a name, making my brand, and doing my thing in the backyard wrestling community. So what went wrong? What happened? In 2019, the plan was to end off FBW at FBW Climax 2019, and as everything was going, that was looking to be the route. We did FBW Climax 2019, and around that same time I graduated high school and I started looking for jobs, and the grind then became, I'm going to save up and go to wrestling school with a company in my town, ACW Florida, who runs WWN Proving Ground shows now. And that was the plan. That was the goal. But right after high school, during that process of getting a job and starting to grind to becoming a professional wrestler, a dream that I've had since I was like 7 years old, just growing up around wrestling, family members, friends, just wrestling was my life ever since I was a little kid. But during that process, me and my fiance found out that we were expecting our first kid, expecting my daughter. And like any responsible adult, my focus was not selfish. My focus was not, how am I going to get to pro wrestling? My focus was, how am I going to take care of my daughter? How am I going to set up a life and an environment for my daughter to live, to thrive, to grow up in? And obviously, having a kid, that is a real big, if not the biggest responsibility that any human can have, in their life. So I had to give up my dream. growing up, all I've ever wanted to do with my life was to be a professional wrestler, to make it to the WWE. And obviously, wrestling school isn't cheap. Money don't grow on trees. And setting up a life, living paycheck to paycheck, having to take care of my daughter at the time, that was my main focus. And I had to learn how to be content with bringing back FBW and just writing out FBW. Life has its way of happening, and during that time in 2021, late 2020, when I started trying to make a process of how can I make this professional wrestling dream work with my daughter, we started to expect another one. My son was born, and having two kids just kind of was like the stamp on the whole pro wrestling dream. Just, if having one kid was hard, having two kids is out of the world. So I kind of realized that the dream just isn't for me anymore. Being able to do my own show at my own property, at my own home, on my own time, for little to no resources, because, just the community and skills that I've developed doing backyard wrestling for a decade. This was just, I had to be content with this, regardless of me not being a pro wrestler, I'm still making a good career out of this. I have met some unbelievable, amazing people. Some of my close friends, and just my friends in general, are backyard wrestling people that I've met through the Nexus, who I've met in the community. Guys like ATK, guys like Jay Gaz, guys like CJ Junt, guys like Tom Bryce, guys like Stryker, guys like Ace Reed. Like, all of these people are down-to-earth people that I've met and I can call in some sort of way friends, or at least a good acquaintance. And, they really help me be content, because those are guys who really take the backyard wrestling community serious and really want to make the most out of this. In 2022, I retired from backyard wrestling because I felt that if I wasn't going to go pro, that what I've accomplished at the time was all that I was going to accomplish in backyard wrestling. Because regardless of whatever somebody says, whatever some egotistical maniac out there in the backyard wrestling community, and I'm not going to name names because we all know who those egotistical people are. Regardless what anybody says, backyard wrestling has a ceiling. There's only so much that you can accomplish and do before you kind of just level out, and you either to be content with what you've accomplished, or you go pro and you go above that ceiling. And at the time in FBW, going into Clash of the Yards, I felt that I've accomplished everything that I was going to accomplish in backyard wrestling. I knew that I wasn't going to travel, and for some reason, being in the state of Florida, and the state of Florida being such a pro wrestling rich state, having, the WWE Performance Center, having some hot indies like the WWN federations, there wasn't really many backyard wrestlers that I was able to find, So FBW was slowly being drained dry because of the roster. At the time, I was a 10-time FBW champ. I've held every single title. I've faced everybody in FBW. So going into that period of time, I felt like there was nothing left for me to do. And I didn't want to be that guy who just wrestled the same match 20 times and called himself one of the best. I didn't want to hurt my image. I didn't want to hurt my brand. I felt like I had to go and I had to end when I did because I've accomplished everything. But I was wrong. I truly was wrong. And at this moment, I believe that I have a lot left in the tank. And SGW came up. I've been friends with Sam Reeves for a very long time. And me and Sam Reeves, we go way back. We go way back to 2017, 2018 when I first hopped on Instagram and joined the backyard wrestling community. He was legit, and That's a Shoot was the first friend that I made. He hit me up on Instagram after I made some posts, and at first it was just in character stuff, just trying to mess around and really, I don't know what his motives were, but he would hit me up in character and we would talk about our matches, and over time we built a bond. I've always knew that he was in Georgia, but being in high school at the time and having those childhood responsibilities, obviously, like there was no way for me to travel up to SGW or EBW at the time to Sam Reeves in our early days, but after ending FBW and really saving some resources and the kids being a little older and realizing that Sam Reeves was only 4 hours away, I really felt like I had to make the move to SGW because I say I was content retiring after Clash of the Yards, but like every wrestler says, backyard pro, whatever, wrestlers never truly retire. And myself being a lifelong wrestling fan, I'm legit. People say I'm obsessed with wrestling. I'm always watching wrestling or some wrestling related content all day, every day. And at some points, it has almost ruined my relationship with my fiance because I'm so immersed and so dedicated to the arts and my art in FBW. The itch came, and at first a couple months went by of being retired, and I was truly happy. I was truly content, but the itch came, and Sam Reeves did not help that itch. They were trying to relaunch SGW, and I tried to put my chess pieces together in the right formation, and I made it work. I drove 4 hours, and I debuted in SGW. And at the time, the whole run in SGW was supposed to be just that. It was supposed to be, I'd do a year-long, 2 trips SGW run, and then I retire for good. And I think that the perfect guy to do that was Sam Reeves. Like the two people that I felt could be my last match or could retire me was Chris Dynamite and Sam Reeves in SGW, and I'm very proud of what me and Sam Reeves accomplished in our feud, and I'm proud of all of the other stories I did in SGW with Damian Prime, with Ryan Blade, and seeing that, I honestly truly wanted to be signed to SGW full time, but as much as SGW was not a crazy expensive trip, like it was only 4 hours, but it's still money. And at the end of the day, at the end of whatever video I film, after every discussion and board meeting in wrestling, at the end of the line, I have 2 kids to take care of. I have 2 kids and a fiance and a household to make sure stays stable. While I was doing the SGW run, there was never really any talks of bringing back FBW. There was no talks amongst anyone where I was going to do this SGW run, finish this SGW run, and then bring back FBW. There was no talks. But as the story goes, as the resilient Anthony Aries and FBW goes, after my SGW run, FBW started to come back. I realized that I was not going to be able to come to SGW a crazy amount of times. And with the structure of how I did my SGW run was we would take 2 trips and we would just pre-film everything. Would pre-film a whole bunch of matches to get us through the year, right? Because there's one major event every month for FPW, for SGW. It's the same thing. So really, those 2 trips that I did in 2023 were months apart, and so I wasn't wrestling as much. So even though I was still active in the scene, being in new matches every month, those matches were pre-taped, and I wasn't wrestling on a regular basis. My first love in my life was wrestling. And if I wasn't going to go pro and I had this backyard wrestling thing going, I was going to find a way to backyard wrestle at the end of the line. As much as I say I want to retire, I truly know deep down in my heart that I cannot. I'm going to be stuck in the backyard wrestling community for as long as I physically can, unless I go pro, which I don't see the odds of anymore. After the SGW run settled down, Sam Reeves felt that he owed me, for everything that I've done for SGW. Because if you look at SGW before and after me, I truly feel that I carried SGW on my back for that entire year that I was up there. A lot of things fell apart after my first trip behind the scenes in SGW. So, especially towards the end of my first trip and my whole second trip, I did a lot for SGW. Now, the whole idea was I was just going to come up, just do my thing, wrestle, and just really kind of ease into backyard wrestling again after my retirement. Because for FBW, I did everything. I edited the videos, I booked all the shows, I uploaded all the stuff, I made all the logos, I made all the match cards, I ran the social media. I did everything for FBW by myself. And that's not because nobody wanted to help me. That was just because I wanted the best. I wanted perfection from FBW. Because if I'm going to stay in the backyard wrestling community, if I'm going to be stuck in the backyard wrestling community, and if this backyard wrestling journey is my wrestling journey, I'm going to make the most out of this backyard wrestling journey, so I am content. So when I die, when I get too old to do this, I am not sitting on my deathbed. I am not sitting as an old man regretting that I never went pro. When I was with SGW, I ended up running the social media. I ended up launching their merch site. I ended up editing and uploading their videos. And through all of that, getting back into the, I guess, quote-unquote business side of backyard wrestling, the itch to, instead of just showing up somewhere and just wrestling and just being strictly a wrestler, the itch to run my own federation really started to kick back in. After SGW, Big B hit me up, and I used to work with Big B a couple years ago, and he moved away out of state, but he came back and he was just ready to do FBW. So him coming back, I pulled back in Chris, and really FBW started to rebuild itself. I can sit here and make this doc about how, the saint of backyard wrestling came back from retirement, had a run of a lifetime in SGW, traveled out of state, accomplished all these things like going out of state, winning a world title out of state, something that the 11-year-old boy would have never thought was possible. The 11-year-old boy who started FBW would have never thought was possible. But the community kind of irks me a little bit. I feel quite disrespected, you can say, by the community. I've given a lot of my life and my physical being to the backyard wrestling community. A community that is shunned by professional wrestlers, shunned by outsiders who don't understand the wrestling bug, you know, who don't understand the wrestling gig. I felt like I needed to take a stand in 2021, and I created the Backyard Wrestling Nexus to make a community inside the community, a little sub-community where wrestlers and federations can come and meet and just really have like a safe haven from all of the toxic negativity and all the other bullshit, ultimately, that fills the backyard wrestling community. No matter what I do, no matter what safe haven I create or what platform I give to federations by making collaboration shows, these little mixtapes to kind of like brighten the image of backyard wrestling. No matter what I do, no matter what character I do, no matter what I do inside of the yard, and no matter what I put my body through, it seems like everybody kind of wants to just sleep on Anthony Aries, kind of just want to not give me the respect that I kind of feel that I deserve and have earned over the past decade. Everybody wants to just kind of forget about Anthony Aries, or like every time Anthony Aries' name is brought up in any sort of conversation, my name kind of gets dragged, through the mud. And I don't understand why, because truly, like, deep down in my heart, being in this community, having this community be like my end goal of wrestling, I just want to make this community a good place. Like, is that so wrong for me to have? I don't care what anybody says. Nobody cares more about this backyard wrestling community than privately I do. Because at the time when the community was falling apart and the negativity and the toxicity was reaching an all-time high, nobody was thinking, hey, let me create a brand, let me create a community, let me create an organization where we can bring in people and have a safe haven and really show that even though there's toxic, egotistical, bullshit-minded people in this community, that there is still a section of backyard wrestling community that is legit. That is legit, peaceful, and only care about good wrestling, good storylines, and making the backyard wrestling community a good place. Nobody was thinking that, and nobody was planning to make that move at the time but me. And I did. I created the Backyard Wrestling Nexus, which is filled with some of the most down-to-earth, passionate, dedicated, like-minded people who care about backyard wrestling and making this place a better place. Yet, no matter what I do, no matter what I say on these documentaries, on these interviews, on these podcasts, nobody gives me the respect that I deserve. And quite honestly, why should I call myself the saint of backyard wrestling and help all these people when no matter what I do, I don't get the respect that I've deserved, that I've earned? I call myself the saint of backyard wrestling because I truly feel that I am a saint of backyard wrestling. At first it was some gimmick of I was the Messiah, I've upgraded, I've cleansed the yards and the sinners that I needed to cleanse, so what do I become next? I become the saint. But now I truly feel that it manifested into something legit that goes beyond the camera, that goes beyond the stories, that goes beyond wrestling. No matter what I do, I get treated like I am some type of nobody. Like I am some irrelevant dude who doesn't deserve or earn respect. Why? Is it because that I haven't wrestled in a real wrestling ring when backyard wrestling was literally built on the foundation of wrestling on the ground and wrestling on trampolines? It wasn't until the later stages of that first backyard wrestling boom where people started building makeshift rings, where they started, like, this whole trend of backyard wrestling companies, like, buying and getting their own rings is something that's been happening, like, kind of in, like, this new generation and current generation of backyard wrestling. Back in the day, back in the OG backyard wrestling, you know, age where people really truly respect, and backyard wrestling was at its highest point in popularity and relevancy, they were wrestling on the ground, wrestling on the trampoline, something that I've made my name off of. I love backyard wrestling, I truly do, but do I like the people that's in the community? No. If the people I call myself the saint for don't respect me, why does the backyard wrestling community deserve me as a saint? Why does the community deserve my help? They quite simply, honestly, don't. And I've been blinded, and for a while, I've just been taking the abuse, honestly. Been taking the disrespect, honestly, and just putting it behind me, pushing it to the side, and just kind of trying to kill negativity and toxicity with kindness. I think that the whole all wrestling matters, little branding, little hashtag thing that has been going around in the backyard wrestling community, underground wrestling community, I think that whole little branding, little movement thing is honestly a joke. Some of its wrestlers shitting on anything that is not in-ring wrestling. Backyard wrestling was built on the foundation of trampoline wrestling and ground wrestling. Just because we are not in a ring doesn't mean we don't bust our asses and still risk our lives. Wrestling is wrestling no matter how you put it. Things can go wrong. And I'm not trying to compare trampoline wrestling to in-ring wrestling. We all know the differences. We all know that in-ring is what wrestling is supposed to be on. But backyard wrestling, underground wrestling is not mainstream wrestling. It's not. I've busted my ass for 10 years. Sure, I have never wrestled in a pro wrestling ring, and that is my ultimate goal. But that doesn't mean I'm lazy. That doesn't mean that I still don't risk it all, that I haven't gotten hurt before. I think that if you're not going to support everybody, and if you don't like trampoline wrestling, you like on the ground wrestling, you don't like all this shit, fine. You don't have to like everything. Just keep your mouth fucking shut. Keep it to yourself. Don't bring negativity and bullshit into the public eye just because you have a hissy fit and you don't like something. Sure, everybody has their opinions and you have freedom of speech, but what the fuck is the point? What the fuck is the point of bringing down someone's day when you don't know their story? Ignorance. Fucking ignorance. Ignorance, hypocrisy, egos, they all plague the backyard wrestling community. The backyard wrestling community, it's beyond saving. I don't know what the fuck goes... I don't know what goes through people's mind in backyard wrestling, because you don't hear this bullshit in pro wrestling and indie wrestling and mainstream wrestling. You don't hear this bullshit. There is such an amount of petty bullshit that I don't think a little fucking hashtag all wrestling matters, little branding is gonna fucking save anything. I tried with the fucking Nexus. I really did. This fucking documentary is gonna give me fucking backlash for shitting on... Well, honestly, you guys are fucking doing this bullshit to yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now gathered to induct the newest member of the SportsWire Radio Hall of Fame. When we think about the newest member of the SportsWire Radio Hall of Fame, there is obviously many things that can be said about him, being the ace of Florida, the saint of BYW, shooting with the Saint, and a thing he's probably known most for in the backyard wrestling nexus. The backyard wrestling nexus, in many ways, has been a safe haven, an outlet for those across not only the nation, but around the world.
I was inducted into the SportsWire Radio Hall of Fame by a man, Tom Bryce, a man who really supports the All Wrestling Matters movement more than anybody. And he's not biased, he's not just playing a gimmick, he truly believes in All Wrestling Matters, and being in a Hall of Fame that includes some of the guys from ESW, the company that got me to start Backyard Wrestling and start this whole Backyard Wrestling journey, it really validates and makes me feel content and makes me feel like I've actually accomplished something. But at the end of the day, that's just one man who really appreciates what I've done and contributed to Backyard Wrestling. So as much as this certificate right here, really sits with me pretty well and makes me feel content, I also have to think about the overall other side of the community, the majority of the community that doesn't respect what I've done and doesn't acknowledge what I've done. I will forever appreciate and cherish that Hall of Fame plaque, but until the whole community acknowledges me and acknowledges what I've done and contributed with the Nexus, with FBW, I don't know if I will truly ever be content with my backyard wrestling journey.
One, two. One, two, three.
Damian Prime, the man that wants that U.S. championship from you, they definitely hold a grudge. They've got an axe to grind.
And look, I know that loss that Damian Prime took at Champions Chaos last year, and I retired Damian Prime. I know that's been eating up, and I know that's been eating Damian Prime up. And as far as I'm concerned, at this point, he's deserved to lose and get retired by my hands. Look, when I was the saint of backyard wrestling, I went around preaching that I want the best out of backyard wrestling. That I think backyard wrestling is a sacred sport.
Yes.
That was my mission as the Messiah, and still is as the Saint. Damian Prime wants to walk around the community, walk around FBW, walk around SGW, taking shit as a joke.
He's got his own show.
Why does he belong in my spotlight or anywhere near my spotlight?
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Staying Frosted with Damian. So if you know, I got a match with Anthony Aries.
So far, right out the bat, he's seeming a little serious, and I think that's because I think he's worried to step back in the ring with Anthony Aries. Because let's take it back to SGW Champions Chaos in 2023. I retired Damian Prime.
Happy that I finally got my match. Bob was talking about something.
He's happy that he got his match, but he says that yet he's not understanding the real reason why he accepted this match is because I need to take responsibility and I need to get rid of people put on these pedestals who really don't care about backyard wrestling and don't take as serious as me. I am the lifeblood of backyard wrestling. I'm as legit as it gets, and I'm going to take out Damian Bryan.
He said, I'm not a prodigy. He also said I'm not prophecy. See my ass, he said.
Yeah, what are you a prodigy of? A prodigy of failure? When you were at your brightest, when I brought SGW to heights it's never seen before, what happened, Damian? What happened? I retired you. You left, and I had to carry SGW, your quote-unquote baby, I carried.
Well, I'm up here to say Saint my ass. Messiah my ass.
How am I a fake saint? How am I a fake Messiah? And in fact, I'm not no longer a Messiah, I'm a saint. Let's get that right. How am I a fake saint? I have the Backyard Wrestling Nexus. I help many companies, and I've listed them before. You can check my Instagram. HFW, SGW, LBYW, YBW, GWA, KTW. I've helped out all of these feds. And that's what saints do. They help.
You can shut it up his ass. 'Cause that's what he is. Number bullshit. Now let's take you back, see, about a year ago. I believed it. Oh, it matches up so well now that I think about it. Last year, around this time, my career was ended by him. If you don't know.
Because you weren't ready. You weren't ready.
My career was ended by Anthony Aries.
And the sad part about that is I really tried taking it easy on Damian Prime during that period because I truly wanted him to succeed because I'm not from Georgia. My home base was never SGW. I knew that I was on limited time in SGW, so I really tried to bring the best out of Damian Prime because at the time I thought he was going to be and could have been the face of SGW, that he can carry SGW after the Saint, the almighty Saint left, but I had to retire him.
I packed up my ball and I went home and SGW crumbled. But you know, if you go back, if you want to blame me for the crumbling, you're going to blame me for it. You go back, whose face is in every single thumbnail? Who's getting less views every time? Less views? What? Back when I was there, we'll get about 300 views. The goal of yours to get 100, 80, 60, they're going down.
And the reason why the views may have went down and stuff is honestly because I was trying to revive a dead corpse. You and SGW, the management was so ass backwards. You guys killed the company. And the little lifeblood that was there when I first got to SGW, you sucked out when you left. Because when I hopped up there, all of you guys got lazy. All you guys tried relying on me. And Backyard Wrestling, as much as I'm cocky and other fuckers say shit, that, I come in Backyard Wrestling is a group effort. And I tried, and I tried. I put the weight of SGW and my experience in Backyard Wrestling on my back. But it wasn't enough, and I admit that. You guys killed SGW, and I was poking a stick trying to revive a dead corpse. Maybe after you left, you took all the bots and the views that you guys were buying and subscribing to. You guys took all that shit away. So maybe the little amount of views was honestly probably the true amount of viewers and subscribers, because you guys stopped paying for the bots when you left.
The show's dropping. Only one match on the fucking card. Dropping.
Yeah, it's because you guys left. You guys got lazy. And instead of dying with you, no, I'm not falling. And falling into the pit of pity and scum that you guys wanted to be in. No. I put out my content. I stayed loyal to my mission. I didn't fall with SGW. No, I was going to stay afloat as much as I can because I care about backyard wrestling.
Company's dead. Last match is you versus Sam.
I tried.
Glad Sam won that. To be honest with you. I'm glad SGW guy did it.
Well, maybe if you guys got your head out of all of your asses and really tried to take this serious, maybe SGW would have ran right through the Saint. But no. I told you in our last feud, I told you again during this build-up, I am as real as it gets.
Company's dead. The only person who can bring SGW back is me. The prophecy.
No.
Now, Anthony, I don't know what you got against me. I mean, I kind of do. I joke on you a lot, but I joke on everybody.
That's my problem against you. Because you joke too much. You don't take this serious and you think you can just come up into my yard, my federation, my living, and be better than me and take my spot when I take this more serious than anybody. You think that I should not take this so serious, and you've said that in private conversations because I stress out too much. I'm starting to become someone who I'm not, who I used to not be. But that's because I can't go pro and I'm stuck here, and I'm going to make the most out of this because I love wrestling and I love the bonds and the community.
That's me. I'm Damian Prime. I'm gonna joke on you. Get used to it. If you don't like the jokes, you don't like me being immature, get used to it. Today, I don't call you Charmin Ultrasoft. I'm gonna wipe my ass with that. I'm telling you right.
People like you don't belong in backyard wrestling because people like you is what brings the community down. The type of people that you are is the type to make backyard wrestling a laughingstock. Yet backyard wrestling has some of the most creative, most passionate people in wrestling. Period. And people like you who joke around and don't take this serious. Backyard wrestling can be so much more. And that's why I have to take you out. That's why I have to get rid of you.
Now look.
And that's what pisses me off is people think you're so funny and high and mighty and get behind you and not behind me when I bust my ass.
I have no hate against you. But it's time I get what is owed to me.
Nothing is owed to you.
United States Championship.
Not owed to you.
My prime back.
You
2.
never had your prime.
3, for you to acknowledge me as
No.
the prophecy. And 4,
Maybe if you beat me. Maybe if you beat me and you truly take this serious, maybe then I'll acknowledge you. But it's not looking too likely.
SGW is coming back if you like it or not. I'm already posting this shit online. So come and do something about it.
SGW is dead. And it died with the only man who cared about it and truly ran it, and that was me.
One, two, three.
So I wake up today and I check my Instagram. I check, what's going on in the backyard wrestling community. The community that I care about so very much. And I've been seeing the usual. Damian Prime trying to expose me when in reality the only thing that he's exposing is how much of an ungrateful bastard he is for everything that I've done for SGW and himself. He just wants to throw that away because... But what really got to me and what really honestly kind of just ruined my whole day today is Jay Gaz. Jay Gaz is a Greek backyard wrestler, a man who I handpicked to take my mission as the Messiah of the Yard. I gave it to him. Now he wants to join Damian Prime and support Damian Prime and say that I'm some sort of fucking false saint, false prophecy. I gave Jay Gaz the keys to the kingdom. I trusted him with my mission in keeping backyard wrestling sacred. And how does he repay me? He spits on the mission and he turns his back on me. When GWA, Jay Gaz, I considered you a friend. When GWA closed its doors and crumbled, who was there when you needed somebody the most? Who was there every time you got in your feelings and wanted to rant and vent about how GWA closed? Who was there? Jay Gaz, I truly thought you were a friend. Jay Gaz, I truly believed in you. That's why I gave you the mission of the Messiah of the Yard, and it's no simple title. I truly thought that you were the one to carry that Messiah of the Yard mission. I see the passion that you had, or at least I saw it, because you wanted to join Damian Prime, claiming that I'm no sort of saint, I don't do anything for the community. What the fuck has Damian Prime done? What makes you want to support Damian Prime? Ridiculous. Jay Gaz, ridiculous. This is why I think that the backyard wrestling community doesn't deserve me as a saint, and they don't deserve anything.
And this razor rage that I have burning inside of me cannot be controlled and held down any longer. So the backyard wrestling community, so this community can go to hell. And I feel sorry for whoever has to deal with this razor rage, because my curse of Aries backed up with this razor rage is going to be the most dangerous thing that this backyard wrestling community has seen and FBW has ever seen. FBW, buckle up, because this razor rage is going to tear you all down.